Right. Shalom, shalom. Something small to give you guys to meditate on throughout the week. This is going to be entitled Friendship, a True Gift from the Most High. And the reason that I'm talking about this is somewhere along the lines of religion or the spirituality that we proclaim to practice, we oftentimes chew off the meat and we get ahead of ourselves and we lose sight of the small things. But it's actually the small things that have a lot to do with our very survival in the walk. We're going to start off with 2 Samuel 2 and verse 26. It says, I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women. Now I start with that because many people who don't understand the scriptures, many people that don't understand the word will take that and say that that was some sort of homosexuality and not understand the depths of how the Most High created us to be. Now, the reason why two brothers that fought side by side and were very close, David described the love he had for Jonathan exceeding the love of a woman. And that wasn't on any physically affectionate way, but it was spiritual. And it was because the Lord made you to be with the opposite sex, but within your gender and within your creation as a man alone or as a woman alone, right? The Most High made you to be understood by your own. As the scriptures tell you, every creature cleaveth to his own like, right? So there's nothing that is more righteous than brothers, than friendship on both sides, sisters and brothers. There's nothing more righteous than friendship because there's no one that can understand you like your own, right? David had a love for Jonathan exceeding a woman because him and Jonathan had a depth and an understanding where they were comforted and uplifted of one another. A lot of us, right, on the surface level, as you grow in this truth, things get deeper and deeper. We understand that our profession is the brotherhood. The scriptures tell you, love the brotherhood, honor all men, right? Our profession, it is the brotherhood. But within the brotherhood, there is friendship. And I think that we come into the walk and we learn the services of God. We learn how to service the Most High and how to serve one another. And we are content with, or stagnant. We're content with the progress we make and it stops at a certain limit. In any relation, in any union, there must be progress. You should not be in your marriages at the same place that you were a year ago, even 6 months ago. The same way your marriage has to become finer with time, right? No different than fermented wine. It becomes greater and stronger with time. At the same token that your marriages have to grow, your friendships have to grow. And a lot of times what we're going to go through tonight is just a snippet of how important it is in the scriptures because we read things about brotherhood, sisterhood, and we're content with a couple feasts and a beach trip here and there and a check-in once in a blue, and it's very vague. And you're going to find out that your friendship, the way that you have or cherish or uphold friendship today, has a lot to do with your communication and your relationship with the Most High. Now, you would ask, how is that? The Bible tells you confess your faults one to another. Now, in the Christians community today or the world today is, I'm going to pray for you. This is how people are addressing your troubles today. How can anyone pray for you that doesn't genuinely have your best interest in mind or doesn't know you like that? The Lord tell you to confess your faults one to another. So within friendship, what is being practiced on a day-to-day? Transparency, man. The ability to be honest. Now, you have significant others. A lot of times when you have a significant other, you're not 100% honest with them. Because why? Between a man and a woman, there is a great misunderstanding. When man's heart turns stony and rebellious against the Most High, he reciprocated that down to our wives and children today, our relationships today. Man and woman can't see eye to eye in a lot of ways. That's why the Most High said it's a blessed thing that they can agree with one another. That's a difficult thing today. It wasn't back then, but it's become this way today. There's a barrier and a blockage up between man and women. And there's a dishonesty between man and woman. But within having friendship, you learn to practice what's called transparency, right? You learn to confess your faults, and eventually you grow and develop the maturity to do the same things within your relationships if you have one. But the first start in friendship is to confess your faults one to another and to pray for one another. When you practice friendship, you practice transparency and honesty. This is Sirach chapter 6, verse 14. A faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that hath found such in one hath found a treasure. Now, once again, the things that are looked at as an option, I want to parallel something for 2 seconds. The things that are looked at as an option today are actually the most valuable. For a perfect example, you go to the gym if you feel like it, and it's an option to you. And some days you wrestle with it and you say things, maybe not, maybe another day. The Lord tells you health and good estate of the body are above all infinite riches and wealth. Your health is more important than the finest piece of gold, but yet your health is an option to you. Let me read this again. A faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that hath found such an one hath found a treasure. So this is telling you, friendship, if you find a proper friendship, it's as finding treasure. It's just as good as riches. So your health and friendship are very valuable. You can't put a price on those things. They have everything to do with your survival, yet they're optional to you. A lot of you go weeks without talking to anyone, and you convince yourself it's better to be alone. And guess what you do when you're alone? You don't practice any transparency, any honesty. Your prayers are vague. They're not clear, right? Because part of understanding what it means to have to be in therapy or to exercise therapeutic value is the ability, you have a brain that compartmentalizes everything on a day-to-day, from small arguments to disagreements to depressions. You compartmentalize everything on a day-to-day. That's why the Lord said with great communication, you're supposed to communicate on a day-to-day. With the sacrifice, the Lord is well pleased. Why? Because communication allows you to confess your faults. Communication allows you in conversation to process some of your thoughts, emotions, and feelings, to get them out in the air. It allows you this thing. And when you're with the right kind of friend, they will readjust. They will benevolently redirect you when you're incorrect. But you learn to practice these things on a day-to-day. These are very valuable to your well-being. And a lot of you are stagnant because you have not understood it. You thought your brother, sisterhood, hey, you're superficial. You can't be superficial. It has to become finer in time. It has to become, that bond has to become finer and greater in time, right? Let me keep reading this verse 15 of Sirach 6. Nothing doth countervail a faithful friend, and his excellency is invaluable. Verse 16. A faithful friend is the medicine of life, and they that fear the Lord shall find him. Now, the Most High also gives a reverence in these same chapters that the man that fears the Lord also gets the proper woman. He gets the wife for him. He gets the silent and the loving one. A lot of things you receive in life are going to be based off of the fear of the Most High. Your faith and your fear and your reverence to the Most High. These are gifts. A woman is a gift. A husband is a gift, right? A brother is a gift. A sister is a gift. The Lord tells you if you fear the Lord, you're going to find him. They're the medicine of life. Because why? There's days where you're up and there's days where you're down. There's days where you're rich in the spirit and days you're impoverished. There's days that you're in your perfect health and there's days you got a bad flu and you're sick. But a friendship is that medicine. Verse 17. Whoso feareth the Lord, once again, you cannot have any union with another creature on this planet Earth if the Most High is not involved. He's the sanctification and a blessing to all of these things. It says, whoso feareth the Lord shall direct his friendship aright. For as he is, so shall his neighbor be also. I'm going to break that down. When you look up the word aright, it means correctly or properly, which means if the Most High is involved in this friendship, then it's going to be correctly grown and nurtured and built. It's going to go through its ups and downs and its bumps in the road, because the Most High tells you that fire proves everything. It's going to go through its bumps in the road. There's going to be some fallout, some bumping of heads. But for the most part, it's going to eventually iron out if the Most High is at the helm of it. If you fear the Most High, if the Most High is at the helm of all unions on this earth that are done in His name, where two are gathered in His name, you're going to learn to direct your friendship correctly. Now, you come from a world in the background where your friendships fell apart because God was not at the helm. There was no morals or principles or boundaries to not cross. Everything was based off of a good time. Everything was based off of a laugh, a drink, partying. Well, in the truth, there's boundary. There's things you don't do to your friend. There's things you don't do to your brothers and sisters. When you have the Most High at the helm and His boundaries lie within your friendship, then your friendship becomes lifelong. There is no such thing as temporary unions when you understand who the Most High is. You've learned, oh, my circle's getting smaller. This is the modern day vernacular that you're under now. My circle's getting smaller. Divorce. These are the things that have desensitized you. You've become normal. You're supposed to age with your woman. You're supposed to age with your husband. You're supposed to age with your sisters and your brothers, man. So it says at the latter end, it says, whoso feareth the Lord shall direct his friendship aright, which we understand means correctly. It says, for as he is, so shall his neighbor be also. What does that mean? Well, if you have the proper friends around you, you may not always be okay, but someone is. And if they're good, they're going to make sure you're good. If they're mentally sound and they had to fast and pray and they had to make some changes in their life and it helped them with a situation, 9 out of 10 times the Lord is helping them through so that as they jump over that hurdle, they can reach back and help you. If I'm good, that's the original term. That's an Israelite term, man. Right? Which means everybody eats. If I'm straight, if my mind is good, I'm going to make sure my friend's mind is good. I'm going to make sure the people I love are good. Proverbs 27 verse 17. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. And what does that mean? Your countenance represents your facial expression. Your facial expressions are derived from the mind state you're in. When you're down, your face looks down. When you're up, you're smiling and you're joyous. This is saying, as iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. That means you have your bad days, you have your down times, you have that friend that sharpens your, get up, man. We're not doing this shit. No, you ain't picking up, you acting down. I'm coming to pick you up, man. What's going on with you, man? You've been being kind of dishonest. You've been to yourself a little bit. What's going on, man? Oh, well, yeah, I didn't want to tell you, but I'm dealing with A, B, and C. Okay, nah, you're going to get up. This is how you're going to deal with this. You don't move correctly, man, the Lord is going to do this to you. They act as your confidant. They act as your protector. They act as your therapist. They act as your everything, man. If they have to rebuke you, they will, right? That's an important part of friendship, man. So you need a reproof sometimes and a correction. You need someone to set you aright. And the Lord provided you with the right tools to succeed. And the scriptures tell you, a fool say in his heart, right? I have no friends, and they that eat my bread speak evil of me. It said a fool. So it's a foolish perception. It is a foolish mind state and state of mind to believe that you have nobody. That's a trick. That's an ancient trick that Satan uses, man. To make you feel like you're all by yourself. You're surrounded by 30 men, 30 women, 20 women. And the scriptures tell you, even out of 1,000 have one counselor. You have that one counselor that has shown you time and time again. God said, if you got a friend, prove him first. Don't be hasty. Don't be quick to credit. This is my own girl. This is my own boy. Prove them first. And time again, the Lord's shown you, this brother, this sister got your back. You've opened up to this brother, this sister. They've told you everything you need to hear, and they've never looked at you different from the worst things on the planet Earth you've told them. It's almost your sins were white as snow as they bared your burden. They ain't never brought it up again. That's a gift. That's what the Lord means when he says the medicine of life. But we don't understand how heavy it is. We don't use this to the best of our ability. We go weeks without talking to people. We go days, months without talking. When we together, it's good. But then we don't hear from each other. We don't hear from each other. It is what it is. We go on throughout our day. And guess when the devil's biggest playground opens up? When you're by yourself, man. When you're in that house by yourself and you're battling those spirits, that's when he's attacking you. But the funny thing is, words, as the scriptures tell you, carry spirit and life. And the conversations that you have with the right friends will give you the words in the spirit to change the mind state that you're in for an entire day. One conversation can redirect your entire day. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9. 2 are better than 1. We naturally understand this. We see this in creation. It says, because they have a good reward for their labor. 2 minds work better than 1. The scriptures tell you, hardly do we guess the things that are aright. You don't always have it together. You can be very smart, but you don't always have the answers. It says, for if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. If they fall, here's the thing. You're going to fall. It's not a matter of only if, it's when. Because we all fall short living in this life. It says, for if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe. The Bible says woe. What does woe mean? It is a Quaker English word for destruction. But destruction to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. Understand that. Destruction to the person that's alone, because you know why? Being alone actually feels comfortable. It's the most comfortable place, but it can also be deceitful. You could actually be comfortable being deceitful without realizing it. You could actually be afraid to step out and try something you're not used to. This friendship thing that I'm talking about sounds so corny. It's so overrated. It's so superficial today. But it's a secret. It's a mystery right here, man. When he falls, he don't have no one to help him. He's going to be destroyed. It says, verse 11, again, if 2 lie together, then they can have heat. So if you were stranded and you crashed on a mountain, man, and you were outdoors, 2 bodies lying next to each other can preserve each other. They can keep each other warm. But how? This is the next verse. This is the rest of the verse. But how can one be warm alone? How are you going to warm yourself up? Even in nature, it tells you this. This is your flesh. This is all scriptures aside. These are scenarios being painted to explain to you why the Lord created everything in twos, why the Lord gave you a confidant. It says, verse 12, and if one prevail against him, 2 shall withstand him, and a 3-fold cord is not quickly broken. Meaning when you take a cord and you braid it, which is how cords were originally created. When you take a cord and you braid it by 3s, you can't break it. A braid is a lock, unlike what we think is a lock according to hair. It's not easy to rip a braid out because it has 3 different pieces of hair that make it. So you're not easily broken when you roll in the spirit with the right people, man. When you surround yourself, you're not easily taken down. Now, here's what's important to understand. Nature, God told man to be fruitful and multiply. And when you understand that in Psalms, David said that men would be, righteous men would have children that surrounded their entire table. You know what we've gotten away from? Big families. It's a terrible thing to have a big family. It's frowned upon. Oh my God, oh, so expensive. Oh. This is how people make you feel about having big families, but I'm going to explain something by nature. Everything you live through in your childhood affects and has a lot to do with your adulthood. And one thing that nature taught is in childhood, you had siblings. And in the midst of you having siblings, you learn to forbear your sibling. Your siblings committed wrongdoings against you. You committed wrongdoings against your siblings. You learn to forgive. Children fight day and night, and the next day, their mercy is renewed towards one another. You would have just remembered you got a cut on your forehead because your brother bashed you in the head with a damn Tonka truck. The next day, you're playing early morning, and it's gone. You know what that is? That's called exercised forgiveness. So nature, when you came from big families in ancient times, you learned forbearance, forgiveness, kindness, meekness. You learn these things through trial and error. From birth, you learn them. Now, in this society, you grew up in a broken home, and all your stories are what? Me and my brothers used to fight, man, like cats and dogs. We used to bang out, but we had each other's back. We would be bloody nose, man. Me and my sister, we used to fight all the time. We'd be fighting bloody nose. I fought my mom. I fought my sister. This is how it was growing up. This is the story of the average minority today, man. And because you fought your brothers growing up, and because you stole from your brothers and sisters growing up, and because you didn't get along and you didn't have an open relationship with your brothers and sisters growing up, it is affecting what today? It's affecting your relationship with people today. Because this has a lot to do with your upbringing. Sirach chapter 29. It says, this is verse 7, Salakia. Sirach chapter 29, verse 7. Many therefore have refused to lend for other men's ill dealing, fearing to be defrauded. Understand why I'm bringing this scripture out. Giving to your neighbor, the Bible says, give to your neighbor in his poverty. Help your friends. Lose your money for your brothers. When you listen to Sam Cooke's song, he talked about going his brother on his knees and his brother knocked him down. His brother refused him when he asked his brother for help. This is a nature that is against God. And we have developed this through many terrible times that we've gone through as a people. Many, due to people's ill dealings, fearing to be defrauded, they refuse to help each other out. They cut their compassion short because of the things they suffered behind being a good person. You gave and you loved and you forgave, and people stabbed you in the back. So you develop, just like punching your hand against a wall for 100 times. You will bleed and it will hurt. But God gave you the ability to adapt to any situation. So after a while, when you're punching that wall, your knuckles begin to become callous. And it's a result, it's a mechanism in your body built for your survival. So you go through things that prick your soul in your heart and it hurt due to wrongdoings of other people that don't have the Most High. That's why I went into that earlier in the video, that God being the helm of all friendship and relationships. Your heart becomes pricked and then you refuse to lend. Now, this is speaking of money, but it all roots back to give money. It's sacrifice and charity. So this chapter has a lot to do with your personality and your outlook on something. Due to the evils that you've gone through, you could have grown up fighting with your siblings. Your siblings could have done you worse than people that never knew you. Your parents, you could have grown up and watched them fight. You could have watched the ill dealings of other people and experienced the ill dealings of other people. And it's had everything to do with the way that you look at life. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 29. Lo, this only have I found, that Yahweh, meaning God, hath made man upright. God created you to love. The Lord created you to forbear your siblings and grow up with your siblings. And when you learn to do that, you learn friendship. You learn what it means to love your neighbor as yourself. Lo, this only have I found, that God, Yahweh, hath made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions. Man changed. God made man in his image. God made man with a heart. God made man to survive, and he gave him tools to survive. He gave women tools to survive. Nowadays, 90% of women, go home, they work and they go home. They talk to one person to two people. They don't do nothing else. They get out the way. They're home. How many demons you battling on a day to day and you don't talk to no one? And when you do, it's just kind, short talk. This has everything to do with the difficulties of your survival. Your friendship is going to feed your survival in the last days. Who you make friends with, you better trust and believe it's going to have a lot to do. Your nature has changed. You got to embrace and understand this and get back to the nature and how God created you. Communication, confession, prayer, correction with one another, uplifting one another, sharpening your friend's countenance. Yo, get up. We out. We about to go for a jog. Hey, you sipping that too much. You starting to drink a little too much. Put that down, man. Hey, you starting to get a little stomach, man. What you doing? You ain't taking care of yourself. You usually on point. What's going on, man? Why your hair looking like that? You dealing with something? You all right? You got to sharpen the countenance of your friend. God said he made you upright, but through many inventions, you changed. This is something heavy to meditate on. And this is what this truth is about. Let's take it up a notch to you men that are listening to this video, to you sisters that may be listening to this video. You got to take it up a notch because I'm going to explain something to you about the Lord that you pray to every day. He is satisfied at your discomfort. As long as you are comfortable and stagnant, he's not impressed with that. He's impressed when you're uncomfortable. That's when the test is on. And friendship is so foreign. The Most High said the upright man, the good man, is perished out of the earth. So you can't trust anyone today. So you develop a callous heart and a callous way of conduct to preserve your survival. It's understandable. But to whom much is given, much is required. John chapter 15, verse 12. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. This is Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Christ. Greater, this is verse 13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends if ye do whatsoever I command you. If that don't touch your spirit, to know that when Christ died for you, he said he laid his life down for his friends. And if you're the friend of Christ and Christ died for you, then you owe him. If he was lifted up that you be saved, like John 3 talks about, he was lifted up on that cross for you to be saved, then you better make some friends in his name. Verse 14 again. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you. He's commanding you to get out of your comfort zone, to communicate, to gather the more daily. He ain't talking about your alcohol and your food and your parties. The good times are up, man. Gather the more daily. It's time to train. It's time to detox. It's time to fast. It's time to be prayed up. It's time to be in constant communication, because your adversary, your enemy, he's gearing up on all sides to consume you as prey. And if you know anything about the world and nature, the Bible compared your enemy to a lion seeking whom he may devour. If you've never seen a lion hunt, he's looking for the dummy at the water by himself. He's looking for the dummy that wandered off from the pack and likes to be alone. Even creatures themselves, if you watch them, they travel in pack. It's 10 times harder to attack a pack. A lion is mighty, but a lion has an environment in which his strength is displayed. And it's not from jumping on a bunch of animals. It's from the chase. It's from catching you alone. Be wise, man. This message is for y'all to be wise and to cherish friendship. And if this video convicts you because you know you have not been being a friend, you look at yourself and say, who do I talk to on a day-to-day? Oh, it's Satan. That's who. This is convicting you. Take it, meditate on it, pray on it, and you're going to have what's called an ice-breaking moment where you actually try to be better and you try to reach out. And it's slightly awkward because probably the person you're reaching out to, they're like, hey, it's ice-breaking because it's a foreign thing. But you stay consistent. You consistently check on someone. You consistently build with someone. God said, let thy life be sincere. Anything that you stay persistent in and genuine about, you'll conquer. So let your friendship feed your faith. With that, I say shalom.